Today, we are going to explore timeless strategies that have been used for thousands of years by the most successful people in history. This wisdom comes from an ancient book about conflict, but its lessons are incredibly powerful for your job, your business, and your daily life. Think of business as a modern-day battleground and your personal goals as challenges to overcome. Understanding these deep ideas can give you a real advantage in everything you do. We will break down these powerful lessons into simple, actionable steps that anyone can use. Let us begin this journey into strategic thinking. Strategic conflict assessment involves knowing when to fight and when it is better not to fight at all. This is the very first lesson because it sets the stage for all other actions. Many people believe that to win, you must always engage, always push, always argue, or always compete head-on. But true strategic wisdom comes from understanding that not every conflict is worth your energy, time, or resources. Imagine you are in a situation where someone has done you wrong, perhaps a supplier or a business partner, and you have clear evidence of their dishonesty. Your natural instinct might be to get angry, to confront them directly, and to demand justice. Your ego, that part of you that wants to be right and to win every argument, will likely push you to fight harder. However, a strategic thinker takes a step back and performs a kind of mental calculation, a cost-benefit matrix. In this matrix, you map out all the potential costs involved in pursuing that conflict. These costs are not just financial. For example, if you decide to sue someone, you will face legal fees, but you will also spend countless hours preparing documents, attending meetings, and dealing with the emotional stress of the situation. Your focus will be diverted from more productive activities in your business or personal life. This is what we call opportunity cost. The time and energy you spend fighting one battle could have been invested elsewhere, perhaps in growing your business, learning a new skill, or spending quality time with your family. Consider a scenario where a small business owner discovers they were overcharged for a service. The amount might be $1,000. While that is a significant sum, the process of fighting for it might involve days of their time, hiring lawyers, and enduring immense stress. If that same business owner were to invest those days into acquiring new clients or improving their product, they might generate 5 to 10 times that amount in revenue. So the question becomes, is winning that $1,000 argument worth sacrificing potentially $5,000 or $10,000 in new business? Plus, all the emotional toll? Oftentimes, the cost of fighting simply does not justify the prize. This is where strategic retreat comes into play. Strategic retreat does not mean surrender or admitting defeat. Instead, it is a conscious decision to withdraw from a high-cost, low-reward situation. It is about reallocating your valuable resources to more promising fronts. It is a sign of strength and intelligence, not weakness. Letting go of a minor injustice for the sake of greater overall gain is a hallmark of a wise leader. Your ego might whisper that you need to punish those who wrong you, but the strategic mind understands that such punishment can come at a heavy cost. And even if you technically win the argument, you might still lose in the bigger picture of your life or business. So, the first and most fundamental principle is to understand when to engage and when to simply walk away, always evaluating the true cost versus the actual reward. This means prioritizing long-term goals over short-term ego gratification. The second principle is focus strength, which means avoiding spreading yourself too thin. Many people believe that diversification is the safest path, whether in business or investing. The idea is that if you have your eggs in many baskets, if one fails, you still have others. While this holds true for mature, established entities, for those just starting out or with limited resources, diversification can actually be a major weakness. The ancient wisdom states that if you try to strengthen everywhere, you will be weak everywhere. Think about the biggest and most successful companies you use today, like a popular video platform or a widely used social media site. When they first started, they did not try to do everything. They found one specific thing that they could do exceptionally well, often for a very specific group of users, and they poured all their energy and resources into mastering that one thing. They focused all their efforts on making that single product or service better than anyone else. Only after achieving significant success and dominating their niche did they begin to diversify, expanding into new areas or acquiring other companies. If you are just starting a new project, a new business, or even a new career path, your resources, whether they are time, money, or energy, are limited. If you try to serve every customer, create every type of product, or learn every skill at once, you will quickly become overwhelmed and mediocre at everything. Instead, the wise approach is to identify your core strength or the single most impactful task or area, and then concentrate about 80% of your resources there. This is known as resource concentration. For a new business, this means picking a very specific customer group and focusing all your marketing, product development, and customer service on serving them perfectly. If you try to sell to everybody, you effectively sell to nobody. If everybody is your customer, then nobody is truly your customer because you cannot tailor your efforts effectively. This principle also applies to personal development. Trying to learn 5 new languages, master 3 different instruments, and become an expert in coding all at the same time will likely result in you becoming proficient in none of them. Instead, choose one skill, perhaps the one most relevant to your career or passion, and dedicate yourself to mastering it. Avoid what is known as shiny object syndrome, which is the temptation to constantly jump between new projects or ideas. This habit dilutes your impact and prevents you from achieving true mastery in any single area. By focusing your strength, you build a solid foundation from which future expansion becomes possible, rather than starting broad and being weak everywhere. The third strategic principle is targeted advantage. Attack weaknesses and leverage your own strengths. This lesson is about intelligent engagement. You can be sure of succeeding in your attacks if you only attack places which are undefended and weak. This does not mean avoiding challenges, but rather choosing your battles wisely where you have the highest probability of success. It also applies to your personal and professional development. Imagine you are starting your first job in a company and you notice that many of your colleagues are incredibly skilled at spreadsheet analysis with years of experience. If you decide to spend all your time trying to compete with them head-on in that area, it will be an uphill battle. You would be attacking something very strong and hard to defeat, and you might end up as a mediocre employee, constantly struggling to keep up with the sharks who have 10+ years of expertise. Instead, a more strategic approach would be to look around and identify areas where there is a gap or a weakness. Perhaps no one in the company is particularly strong at creating compelling presentations. Or maybe there is a new software tool that no one has taken the time to master. If you decide to focus your energy on becoming the go-to person for presentations, or the expert in that new software, what do you think will happen? After a relatively short time, you will be considered indispensable in that niche. It will be much harder for the company to let you go because you fill a unique and valuable role that others do not. This concept also directly applies to your personal strengths and weaknesses. The things you are naturally good at and genuinely enjoy doing are your strong points, your undefended positions that you should attack or focus on. These are the areas where you can achieve mastery and derive immense satisfaction. On the other hand, the things you truly dislike and are bad at are your weaknesses, the strongholds of the enemy that you should avoid attacking. For example, if you are an excellent creative content creator who loves making videos and connecting with an audience, and this brings you significant pleasure and income, why would you spend countless hours trying to improve your administrative or bookkeeping skills, which you dislike and are not good at? You might hate dealing with invoices and spreadsheets, but if you are making a substantial income from your creative work, you can easily hire someone who is an expert in administration for a fraction of your hourly rate. This is about outsourcing weaknesses. It simply does not make financial or emotional sense to force yourself to become good at something that you dread. Focusing on your weaknesses often leads to frustration, reduced confidence, and unhappiness. Instead, by concentrating on your strengths, you build confidence, become highly efficient, and position yourself for greater success and fulfillment. It is about playing to your strengths and intelligently navigating around your weaknesses, either by delegating them or by not letting them dictate your main focus. This strategic principle also underpins a continuous self-assessment. Regularly evaluate your personal strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to better understand where to direct your energy and where to wisely retreat. The fourth strategic principle is forecasting costs, understanding the true price of war and business. The idea of starting your own business, being your own boss, and having complete freedom often sounds incredibly appealing. Many envision themselves in a fancy office, giving orders, and living a glamorous life. However, this ancient text warns us that war is extremely expensive, costing lives even when there is no fighting, and demanding immense patience and support from the people back home. This cost extends far beyond the battlefield and can be paid for a very long time, even after a victory has been declared. The same harsh reality applies to entrepreneurship and any significant personal endeavor. Before you embark on starting a business, launching a major project, or pursuing a challenging goal, you must honestly ask yourself if you are truly willing to pay the complete costs, not just the obvious ones. Are you prepared to work for a year, or even longer, without drawing a profit? Are you willing to experience arguments with your partner or family because your new venture demands so much of your time and attention? Can you handle immense pressure and stress, often on a daily basis? Are you prepared to sacrifice weekends, social outings with friends, and precious leisure time? These are just a few of the hidden costs that many aspiring entrepreneurs do not foresee. It is not just you who pays the price. Your family and friends often share in the sacrifices. The romanticized image of entrepreneurship, sitting in a sleek office, making calls, and delegating tasks, is far from the reality for most. The reality for many is working from their bedroom or a coffee shop, and instead of giving orders, you are the one doing all the difficult work yourself. A powerful anecdote from a seasoned entrepreneur highlighted this perfectly. When I worked for someone else, I hated working on Saturdays. That is why I worked very hard to create my own business. Now that I have my own business, I also work on Sundays. This illustrates the profound commitment and sacrifice required. Beyond business, this principle applies to any major life decision. Want to get a top university degree? It comes with the cost of sleepless nights, financial debt, and delayed gratification. Want to become physically fit? It means sacrificing junk food, dedicating hours to exercise, and pushing past discomfort. Understanding these true costs beforehand prevents disillusionment and helps you build the necessary mental fortitude to persevere. Many people jump into new ventures or goals without fully appreciating the sacrifices required, and then they quickly give up when the going gets tough. A strategic thinker confronts these potential costs head-on, preparing themselves mentally and emotionally for the difficult journey ahead. This foresight is crucial for long-term success and resilience. The fifth strategic principle is strategic alliances. Know your friends and their agendas. In both business and warfare, forming alliances is often essential for achieving larger goals that cannot be accomplished alone. However, this ancient wisdom warns us that those who appear to be your allies may have agendas of their own, which do not necessarily align perfectly with yours. They might even employ deceitful tricks. Therefore, it is critical to invest time in researching your potential allies and understanding their true interests, motivations, and long-term objectives before committing to any partnership. This is not about being cynical, but about being realistic and prudent. In business, this applies to everything from choosing a co-founder or business partner to signing a deal with a major client or collaborating with another company. Before you enter into a partnership, whether formal or informal, ask yourself, what are their ultimate goals? How do our interests align, and where might they diverge? Do they have a reputation for trustworthiness and fair dealing? Just as a general needs to understand the terrain and the intentions of neighboring princes before leading an army, you need to understand the landscape of your potential alliance. This requires more than just surface-level conversations. It involves asking probing questions, observing their past actions, and perhaps even speaking with others who have worked with them. For example, if you are considering a joint venture with another company, you would want to understand their financial health, their market position, and their company culture. Do they value long-term relationships, or are they solely focused on short-term gains? Do they have a history of treating their employees or partners well? In personal life, this principle extends to choosing close friends, mentors, or even romantic partners. Understanding someone's values, life goals, and how they handle conflict is crucial for a healthy and sustainable relationship. Do your values truly align? Are their actions consistent with their words? While a win-win outcome is always the ideal, genuine alliances require a certain level of transparency about mutual benefits and objectives. However, this principle also acknowledges that people are complex and subtle self-serving motives can exist. Learning to read between the lines and identify potential conflicts of interest before they escalate is a key skill. By conducting proper due diligence and understanding the real interests of your allies, you can build stronger, more reliable partnerships and avoid unforeseen betrayals or misalignments that could undermine your success. The sixth strategic principle is dual knowledge. Know yourself and know your enemy. This is arguably one of the most famous and foundational statements of ancient strategic thought. It asserts that if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. However, if you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. And if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will lose in every battle. This timeless wisdom has profound implications for every aspect of modern life, from job interviews to launching a business, and even in personal development. Let us consider a common scenario: a job interview. There are two questions that are almost guaranteed to be asked. Why should we hire you? And what do you know about our company? Most people answer these questions superficially. They might say, you should hire me because I am a team player, reliable, and hardworking. And then add, I checked your website, and it seems like your company sells books. In today's competitive job market, such generic answers rarely lead to success. The interviewer will likely say they will contact you soon, but you will never hear from them again. This is because you failed to truly know yourself in relation to the company, and you certainly did not know your enemy, the company's problems and needs. Now, imagine a different scenario. Before the interview, you conduct deep research. You do not just skim the company website, you read their annual reports, press releases, and industry news. You try to understand their market position, their recent successes, and most importantly, their current challenges and future plans. You go a step further. You use your network to find someone who works at that company and arrange an informational interview to learn about the internal culture and specific problems they are facing. You might even talk to someone who holds the exact position you are applying for, gaining insights into the day-to-day responsibilities and key challenges of that role. This is how you gain an intimate understanding of your enemy. Next, you turn that lens inward. You deeply analyze your own skills, experiences, and passions. This is knowing yourself. You look at the results of your research on the company and identify 5 main problems they are facing. Then, you match your own strengths to those problems. Perhaps you realize you can genuinely help with 2 of those critical issues. You then prepare a compelling narrative for the interview. For example, you might say, your company, which once dominated the market for books, has seen a consistent decrease in market share and revenue since 2018. If you hire me as a marketing manager, I propose 3 specific actions to reverse this trend. First, I will implement XYZ strategy, which I successfully executed in my previous role, leading to a 20% increase in sales. Second, I will focus on developing ABC initiative, leveraging my experience in digital marketing to target underserved segments. And third, I will develop a comprehensive content marketing plan that aligns with your brand's unique voice. When you present such a detailed, problem-solving approach, 2 things are likely to happen. First, the interviewer will be genuinely amazed by your insight and preparedness. You will stand out dramatically from all other candidates. Second, you will be in a strong position to negotiate for a higher salary. Because no other candidate demonstrated such a deep understanding of their problems or offered such concrete solutions, they will see you not just as an employee, but as a valuable asset who can immediately contribute. This is not just theory. This approach consistently yields amazing results in real-life scenarios. Beyond job interviews, this principle applies universally. In business, knowing yourself means understanding your unique value proposition, your core competencies, your internal weaknesses, e.g., inefficient processes, limited capital. Knowing your enemy means a deep understanding of your competitors, their strengths, weaknesses, pricing strategies, and customer base, as well as broader market trends and potential threats. Only when you combine this dual knowledge can you devise effective strategies to secure your position and seize opportunities. In personal development, knowing yourself means understanding your values, your emotional triggers, your learning style, and your personal energy patterns. Knowing your enemy means identifying your bad habits, your self-limiting beliefs, or external distractions that hinder your progress. With both insights, you can create a clear path to victory in any aspect of your life. This continuous process of self-assessment and external analysis is the bedrock of strategic success. The seventh strategic principle is reading the signs, the art of observation. Ancient military generals relied on subtle cues from the enemy's camp or their own troops to understand the situation. If some soldiers were seen advancing and others retreating, it might be a lure. If those sent to draw water began drinking themselves, the army was suffering from thirst. If soldiers leaned on their spears, they were faint from lack of food. If the enemy saw an advantage but made no move, their soldiers were exhausted. These seemingly small observations revealed critical truths about the enemy's morale, resources, and intentions. You might be asking, how does this apply to me in my daily life or business? While these specific examples are military-focused, the core principle is universally applicable. Signs tell a very important story. Whether in business, relationships, health, or personal finance, skilled individuals are adept at reading these signs and using them to their advantage. They pay close attention to subtle indicators and understand what these signs are trying to tell them. For example, in business, if customer support calls suddenly increase for a specific product feature, that is a sign. It could indicate a bug, a misunderstanding, or a need for better instructions. An entrepreneur who recognizes this sign can quickly address the issue, preventing a larger problem or even discovering an opportunity for improvement. In your personal life, signs are everywhere if you learn to look for them. If you consistently feel tired and sleepy during the day, even after a full night's rest, that is a clear sign. It is telling you that something in your sleep hygiene or overall health needs to be addressed. Perhaps you are not getting enough deep sleep, or your diet is affecting your energy levels. If you are on a diet but consistently struggle to lose weight, that is a sign. It is telling you that your current dietary approach is not effective for your body and needs to be adjusted. If you find yourself constantly procrastinating on important tasks, that is a sign. It could be telling you that the task is too daunting and needs to be broken down, or that you lack clarity on how to start, or even that it is a task you genuinely dislike and should consider delegating. Another example, if your website traffic is high, but your conversion rate, the percentage of visitors who take a desired action, like making a purchase or signing up, is low, that is a sign. It tells you there is a problem with your website's design, your sales pitch, or your offer. A wise business owner would investigate this sign immediately. Similarly, in relationships, if communication starts to break down, or if a loved one becomes withdrawn, these are signs. Ignoring them can lead to larger problems. By cultivating a habit of attentive observation and critical interpretation, you can catch problems early, identify emerging opportunities, and make more informed decisions in all areas of your life. It is about being present and paying attention to the subtle cues that often reveal the underlying reality. The eighth strategic principle is proactive preparedness. Do not rely on luck. This lesson emphasizes that we cannot simply rely on the likelihood that difficulties will not come our way. Instead, our focus should be on making our own position unassailable, building up our defenses so that when challenges inevitably arise, we are ready to receive them. In life, everything might be going well for you right now. You might have a stable job, a good salary, perhaps a company car, and excellent health. We all hope that this good fortune continues indefinitely. However, reality dictates that things can and often do go wrong. You might face unexpected job loss, sudden financial difficulties, or, in the worst case, serious health problems. These are not just possibilities. They are realities that many people encounter at some point in their lives. Naively believing that such difficulties will never come to you is a dangerous form of wishful thinking. That is why we all need to be prepared. Our strategy should not be based on the chance that problems will not attack us, but rather on the fact that we have built a position strong enough to withstand any attack. Here are some basic yet crucial ways to apply this principle in your life. First, build an emergency fund. This means setting aside enough cash to cover 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses. This fund acts as your personal financial shield against unexpected job loss, medical emergencies, or other financial shocks. Studies have shown that people with emergency savings experience significantly less stress during economic downturns. Second, ensure you have good insurance for yourself and your family. This includes health insurance, disability insurance, and potentially life insurance. These are not luxuries. They are fundamental layers of defense against catastrophic financial burdens that can arise from health crises or unforeseen events. Third, become an expert at your job. During tough economic times, companies often have to make difficult decisions, and typically, it is the average performers or those with easily replaceable skills who are let go first. Demand for true experts, however, often goes up. Continuously improve your skills, seek out advanced training, and strive to be indispensable in your role. Fourth, if you do not see yourself as an expert in your current job, or if your industry is volatile, start a side business or take new courses to prepare yourself for a new career path. Developing multiple income streams or acquiring new high-demand skills diversifies your personal portfolio and reduces your reliance on a single employer. Fifth, always have some cash ready for great investment opportunities that might come your way. Economic downturns, while challenging, often present significant opportunities to acquire undervalued assets. If you are prepared with liquid funds, you can capitalize on these moments while others are struggling. This principle is about building resilience. It is about understanding that while we cannot control every external event, we can control our level of preparedness, transforming potential threats into manageable challenges or even opportunities. It is about creating a personal fortress that is unassailable, regardless of what storms may come. The ninth strategic principle is strategic omission, the power of the not-to-do list. This lesson highlights that knowledge of what not to do can often be more important than knowing what to do. It speaks of roads that must not be followed, armies that must not be attacked, towns that must not be besieged, and commands that must not be obeyed. In our modern lives, we are constantly bombarded with advice on what we should do. Create a to-do list, exercise more, eat healthy, network, learn new skills. And while these are valuable, very few people focus on what they should not do. Have you ever created a not-to-do list? If you haven't, you will be amazed by its results. This list is about eliminating negative influences and unproductive activities from your life. For example, you should not be spending excessive time on tasks you are genuinely bad at, especially if they can be delegated or automated. You should not be hanging out with people who consistently drain your energy, are negative, or do not support your goals. You should not be spending the first 2 to 3 hours of your day on low-value tasks like endlessly checking emails or social media, instead of focusing on your most important work. This principle also profoundly applies to how businesses choose their customers. There is a popular saying, "The customer is always right," which is often misapplied. A more accurate version would be, "The right customer is always right." There is a significant difference. If you try to serve every single customer, you will inevitably end up with some who waste your time, drain your energy with endless demands, constantly complain, or simply do not align with your business values. These are what one might call toxic customers, and they are really like garbage. They were likely thrown away by someone else, and if you continue to serve them, you are essentially feeding on someone else's discarded problems. Instead, you should strategically throw away such customers. This allows you to free up valuable time and energy, which you can then dedicate to the customers who truly matter for your business. Those who value your service are profitable and are a pleasure to work with. By focusing on these ideal customers, you can make them even happier, leading to more referrals and a healthier business. While it might be difficult for some businesses, many small business owners and freelancers can easily implement this by positioning themselves in a certain way or by simply rejecting certain types of customers who have a specific budget or attitude that does not fit. Many people struggle with the idea of rejecting potential revenue, but continuing to serve the wrong customers can be more damaging than helpful in the long run. If you say, "A customer is a customer," then you operate like a commodity business, much like a grocery store that sells potatoes and cucumbers. In a commodity business, clients are lost as soon as a new competitor offers a slightly better price because there is no perceived unique value. A potato is a potato, and most people will buy it from wherever it is cheapest. By being selective, you define your value, attract the right audience, and avoid becoming a replaceable commodity. The 10th strategic principle is resourcefulness, creative problem solving with constraints. This ancient text points out that despite there being only a few musical notes, their combinations lead to endless melodies. Similarly, with only a few primary colors, countless hues can be produced. And in battle, with just 2 methods of attack, direct and indirect, an endless series of maneuvers can arise. This wisdom serves as a powerful reminder about the boundless potential within limited resources. Often, in our personal lives or at work, we fall into the trap of complaining about what we lack. We lament not having enough time, money, employees, or opportunities. It is easy to point fingers at external constraints and use them as excuses for inaction. However, the true challenge and the path to innovation lie in using your limited resources creatively to come up with entirely new solutions. This particular lesson resonates deeply because it highlights how often we choose to complain about a lack of resources, rather than focusing on what we can creatively do with what we already possess. Our brain's potential is truly endless, but it often needs to be prompted with the right questions. Instead of framing a problem as, "I do not have enough resources to do X," a strategic shift in perspective involves asking, "How can I achieve what I want to using only the things that I already have?" This simple rephrasing unlocks the brain's creative capacity, prompting it to work on possibilities rather than dwelling on limitations. For instance, if you want to start a business but feel you lack capital, instead of saying, "I do not have enough money," ask, "How can I start a business with zero capital using only my existing skills and network?" This might lead you to consider service-based businesses, creative bartering, or leveraging online platforms that require minimal upfront investment. If you feel you do not have enough time to pursue a passion project, instead of complaining about your busy schedule, ask, "How can I carve out 15 minutes each day or combine this activity with something I already do using the time I currently have?" This could lead to listening to educational podcasts during your commute or dedicating a specific 15-minute slot during your lunch break. This principle encourages a mindset shift from scarcity to abundance. It challenges us to look at what is available, no matter how small, and envision how it can be combined, repurposed, or leveraged in innovative ways to achieve our goals. It is about recognizing that true ingenuity often blossoms under constraint, forcing us to think outside the box and discover novel paths to success. The 11th strategic principle is task management. Divide and conquer the overwhelming. Have you ever looked at a large project or a long list of tasks and felt so overwhelmed that you did not even know where to begin? The sheer size and complexity of it can be incredibly intimidating, often leading to procrastination or even complete paralysis. However, this ancient wisdom reveals a simple yet powerful truth. The control of a large force is the same principle as the control of a few men. It is merely a question of dividing up their numbers. In practical terms, this means that once you sit down and break down that daunting project into smaller, manageable pieces, you realize it is not so scary after all. In fact, it often becomes quite simple. When it comes to managing tasks effectively, one tremendously helpful technique is called batching and naming your days. This involves dedicating specific days or blocks of time to certain types of tasks. For example, you might designate Mondays for administrative tasks. On this day, you would focus on responding to emails, organizing files, handling billing, and dealing with any management-related tasks for your company or personal life. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays could be reserved for creative work or deep work. These are the days for researching, writing important reports, developing new strategies, or creating content that requires intense focus. Finally, Friday could be your meeting day, where you schedule most of your client meetings, team discussions, or external collaborations. While strict adherence to this formula might be challenging every single week, especially when dealing with others' schedules, doing your best to stick to it 90% of the time offers significant benefits. First, it prevents you from feeling overwhelmed. Instead of worrying about 20 different tasks, you only focus on the handful of tasks designated for that particular day. You are not thinking about creative work on administrative Monday or meetings on your deep work days. This reduces mental clutter and anxiety. Second, it dramatically increases productivity and focus. Every time you switch between different types of tasks, your brain has to reorient, leading to a loss of momentum and efficiency. This is known as context switching, and it is a major productivity killer. Batching similar tasks together minimizes this loss, allowing you to get into a flow state and stay there. Third, it provides better clarity and reduces worry. When an email or a request comes in that is not aligned with your current day's focus, it is easy to politely defer it or simply ignore it until its designated time, without feeling guilty or distracted. You know that Tuesday is not for responding to emails, so you can easily bring yourself back on track to your creative work. Fourth, it helps you tackle painful tasks. When you have many tasks, there is a natural tendency to avoid the difficult or unpleasant ones and focus on the easy ones. But when you know that a specific day is dedicated to a certain type of work, including those painful tasks, you have no option but to get them done. This system ensures that all necessary tasks are addressed systematically, rather than letting the difficult ones linger indefinitely. This method transforms a chaotic jumble of responsibilities into a clear, manageable, and highly efficient workflow. The 12th strategic principle is commitment and calculated risk, the burn the ships principle. This powerful metaphor suggests that if you are trying to conquer an island, the most effective way to ensure victory is to burn your ships after landing. In other words, eliminate any possibility of retreat or failure. This leaves your soldiers with only two options: conquer or perish. When faced with such stark choices, human willpower and ingenuity often reach their peak, turning "I should do it" into "I must do it." This tactic creates an immense psychological pressure that can unlock incredible drive and determination. Many of us repeatedly say, "I should start that business," or "I should learn that skill," or "I should get in shape." But these intentions often remain just that, intentions, because there is always a comfortable backup plan or an easy way out. The burn the ships mentality removes that comfort. There is tremendous power when we know there is no turning back, and success is not just desired, but absolutely necessary. In many aspects of life, this can be a highly effective tactic. For example, if you publicly commit to a fitness goal or a personal project, the social pressure can act as a form of burning the ships, making you more likely to follow through. However, when it comes to starting a business, particularly for those with no prior experience, a full, immediate burning of the ships by quitting your job with no financial cushion can be extremely risky and is often not the wisest approach. While the ancient text champions this all-in approach for warfare, modern business strategy often suggests a more calculated progression. Many successful entrepreneurs did not immediately burn their ships. Instead, they started their businesses as a side venture, working on it during evenings and weekends while maintaining their main source of income. This allowed them to test their ideas, build a customer base, and gain initial traction without the immense financial pressure that comes from having no safety net. They only went all in and quit their day jobs once they had a clear indication of success, perhaps a 60 to 70% chance of profitability, or enough savings to cover their living expenses for an extended period. This phased approach allows for calculated risk-taking, where you commit fully only once you have gathered enough intelligence and built a solid enough foundation to significantly increase your odds of success. It is about understanding the spirit of must-do without unnecessarily risking complete disaster. It is about choosing the right moment to eliminate the backup plan when the probability of victory outweighs the risk of total loss. The 13th strategic principle is defensive mastery. Secure yourself before seeking opportunity. This wisdom states that good fighters first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, and only then do they wait for an opportunity to defeat the enemy. Securing ourselves against defeat lies entirely in our own hands, meaning we control our preparedness and defenses. However, the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself, implying that external opportunities arise independently, and we must be ready to seize them. This concept is incredibly powerful for financial strategy and personal resilience. Regardless of the situation you are facing, you know yourself better than anyone else. You understand your weaknesses and strengths. Therefore, it is within your power to build a strong defense that makes you almost unassailable. Once your defense is robust, your focus shifts to external observation. You need to meticulously observe your environment, searching for weaknesses in your enemy's defense or emergent opportunities. But critically, you cannot truly benefit from these opportunities if your own foundation is weak. Consider the common saying that more millionaires are made during a market crash than during a market boom. Market crashes indeed bring immense opportunities because many excellent businesses and assets become available at a significant discount. However, if your personal financial defense is weak, meaning you are deep in debt, have no emergency fund, lack a reliable source of income, carry high expenses, and have no savings, then it does not matter how large or obvious the market opportunity is. You will not be able to capitalize on it. In fact, you will likely become a victim of the market crash, struggling to stay afloat rather than thriving. To put yourself beyond the possibility of defeat, financially means building a solid personal financial defense. This involves several layers. First, minimizing high-interest debt, which acts as a constant drain on your resources. Second, establishing and maintaining a robust emergency fund, as discussed previously, to cover unexpected expenses. Third, cultivating multiple income streams or ensuring your primary income source is stable and growing. Fourth, managing your expenses carefully and living below your means, allowing you to save and invest consistently. When these defenses are in place, you become resilient. When the market experiences a downturn, instead of panicking, you can calmly assess opportunities. You have the financial freedom and stability to invest when others are forced to sell. This principle extends beyond finance. In your career, putting yourself beyond defeat means continuously upgrading your skills, building a strong professional network, and cultivating a reputation for excellence. When industry changes or company layoffs occur, those with strong defenses are more likely to survive and even thrive. In health, it means prioritizing preventative care, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and addressing minor issues before they become major problems. Only when you have built this strong internal defense are you truly positioned to recognize and seize the opportunities that the world inevitably presents. It is about proactive strength rather than reactive desperation. The 14th strategic principle is adaptive communication. Speak the language of your audience. This lesson emphasizes that a good leader knows how to handle both superior and inferior forces, which implies the ability to communicate effectively with different groups of people. Just as a commander needs to speak to foot soldiers differently than to cavalry officers, in modern life, different groups use different words and speak in distinct ways. For example, investors speak differently than entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs speak differently than employees. Married people speak differently than single people. The language can be so varied that someone listening might feel as if they are hearing a foreign tongue. Consider the specific vocabularies. Investors frequently use terms such as return on investment, or ROI, asset, liability, capital gains, appreciation, and so on. Their focus is on financial returns and growth. On the other hand, employees often speak in terms of a good pension plan, a high salary, flexible working hours, meal vouchers, and career progression. Their priorities revolve around stability, benefits, and work-life balance. When you are communicating, whether it is a presentation, a negotiation, or a casual conversation, your ability to adjust your language and frame your message to resonate with your audience is crucial for effective communication. I once had a manager who was a master of this principle. I deeply admired his presentation skills. When he was addressing our team, his direct reports, he would often use 15 to 20 detailed slides in his PowerPoint presentation. He would dive deep into processes, project specifics, and team responsibilities, using language that was clear and relevant to our day-to-day work. However, when he presented the exact same topic to senior management, he would typically use only one slide, with perhaps 10 to 15 key bullet points. He understood that management cared primarily about a few key pieces of information: the overall strategy, the potential impact on revenue or costs, and the high-level outcomes. He could distill complex information into concise, impactful summaries that spoke directly to their priorities. He was well respected and admired throughout the company precisely because he knew how to talk to his superiors and inferiors alike, adjusting his message to their specific needs and perspectives. This principle applies broadly. When selling a product, you do not just list features. You translate those features into benefits that matter to your specific customer segment. For a parent, you might emphasize safety and durability. For a young professional, you might highlight efficiency and style. In personal relationships, it means understanding your partner's communication style and adapting yours accordingly. Some people need direct communication, while others prefer a softer approach. Some appreciate emotional expression, while others prefer logical reasoning. The key is audience empathy. Before you speak, put yourself in their shoes. What are their priorities, their concerns, their level of knowledge? Frame your message in terms of what matters most to them. This involves not just changing words, but also adjusting the level of detail, the tone, and the overall emphasis. Effective communication is about being understood, and being understood requires speaking a language your audience can easily interpret. The 15th strategic principle is meticulous planning, the foundation of victory. This ancient wisdom states that the general who wins a battle makes many calculations in his temple before the battle is fought. Conversely, the general who loses makes few calculations beforehand. Thus, doing many calculations leads to victory and few calculations to defeat. It is by paying attention to this point that one can foresee who is likely to win or lose. It is truly ironic how universally we understand the importance of planning, yet how frequently we ignore it in our daily lives. Every successful football team, basketball team, or any professional sports team starts a game with a complete and well-defined game plan, developed after hours of analysis and calculation. Yet, when it comes to life itself, only a small percentage of people take the time to develop their own game plan. Here is the most important rule of planning for life. Do not start your day without a complete and well-defined plan. Before you begin any activities, you should know exactly what you plan to accomplish on that day. In other words, do not start your day until you have it finished on paper or digitally. This might seem like it takes extra time, and it does. But the time invested in planning is paid back many times over in increased productivity and clarity. If you make this a daily habit, you will be amazed by how much more you accomplish. You will no longer end your day wondering where the time went, feeling like you achieved nothing significant. Instead, you will look back with satisfaction at your progress. Once you master planning your days, the next logical step is to scale up. Do not start your week, month, or year until you have it planned. Your yearly plan should outline your major goals for the next 12 months. Your monthly plan breaks down those yearly goals into smaller, actionable steps. And your weekly plan further refines those steps into tasks for each day. This creates a clear roadmap, ensuring that your daily actions contribute to your larger objectives. However, it is crucial to remember that plans are not written in stone. While meticulous planning is vital, flexibility is equally important. Life is unpredictable, and circumstances can change rapidly. Therefore, you should always be willing to adjust your plans according to new information or unforeseen events. The plan serves as a guide, not a rigid prison. It helps you stay on track, but also allows you to pivot when necessary. The discipline of planning, coupled with the flexibility to adapt, is a hallmark of strategic thinking and a sure path to achieving your desired outcomes. The 16th strategic principle is strategic innovation. Win without direct competition. This lesson is profound. To win 100 battles is not the height of skill. Breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting is the skillful leader's approach. A skillful leader subdues the enemy's troops without any fighting, captures their cities without laying siege, and overthrows their kingdom without lengthy operations in the field. In the context of business, battling often means competing directly, especially through price wars, where businesses continuously undercut each other. This often leads to a destructive cycle where profits are eroded and the entire market becomes unsustainable. So, in business, how do you win without competing? How do you win without fighting? While it is not easy, it is absolutely possible. This concept is beautifully explored in a well-known business strategy framework that discusses two types of oceans or markets. There is the red ocean, which is red because competition is so fierce that the blood of competitors has metaphorically turned the water red. In these markets, companies fight tooth and nail over existing demand, often leading to price wars and diminishing returns. On the other hand, if you strategically swim past this red ocean, there is another ocean, a blue ocean, which is vast, untainted, and free of competition. Your goal as a strategic leader is to be in that blue ocean. How does one create a blue ocean? It involves value innovation, which means simultaneously pursuing differentiation and low cost. Instead of merely outperforming competitors in an existing market, you create new demand and market space by offering unprecedented value to customers. This could mean creating entirely new products or services that solve problems in novel ways, or redefining existing products to appeal to entirely new customer segments. This approach allows you to essentially make the competition irrelevant because you are operating in a space where there are no direct competitors, or at least very few. To achieve this, you need to develop a unique value proposition. Clearly define what makes your offering distinct and superior. Why should customers choose you over any alternative, even those that are not direct competitors? What unique problem do you solve, or what unique benefit do you provide that no one else does? Furthermore, strategic innovation involves anticipating market shifts. Look for emerging trends, unaddressed pain points, or disruptive technologies that can create these new blue oceans. Instead of reacting to what competitors are doing, you proactively shape the future of your industry. This approach elevates you from merely being a competitor to being a pioneer, allowing you to capture market share without engaging in costly, head-to-head battles. The 17th strategic principle is continuous self-analysis, the SWOT beyond business. This lesson advises to carefully compare your own army with the opposing army so that you may know where strength is superabundant and where it is deficient. In the world of marketing, there is a widely known technique called SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. While it was originally developed as a tool to analyze businesses, its practicality extends far beyond corporate strategy. You can effectively use SWOT analysis to scrutinize your own business, your competitors, or most importantly, yourself as an individual. This tool is particularly useful if you find yourself at a career crossroads, unsure of which direction to take. You can analyze yourself as if you were analyzing a company or another person. First, list your strengths. These are the things you are genuinely good at, your skills, talents, and positive attributes. For example, you might be an excellent communicator, a highly organized individual, or exceptionally creative. Second, identify your weaknesses. These are the areas where you struggle, your limitations, or habits that hold you back. Perhaps you are prone to procrastination, lack specific technical skills, or struggle with public speaking. Third, consider opportunities. These are external factors that you could leverage for your benefit. This might include a growing demand for a skill you possess, a new industry trend, or an emerging market. Fourth, identify threats. These are external factors that could negatively impact your goals or stability. Examples include increasing competition in your field, a declining industry, or new regulations. The things you list in the weakness and threat columns are the ones to be avoided or mitigated. For instance, your future career choices should ideally not be based primarily on your weaknesses, nor should you ignore significant threats. The most interesting and actionable insights typically come from the strength and opportunity columns. These two columns will be the main indicators telling you what to focus on. If you have a strength that aligns perfectly with a growing opportunity, that is a strong signal for a potential path forward. For example, if you are strong in digital marketing and there is a growing opportunity in online businesses, that is a powerful combination. Furthermore, if you are preparing for a job interview, this exercise is invaluable. The question, "What are your strengths and weaknesses?" is a basic yet frequently asked interview question. Many people struggle to provide a clear, concise, and compelling answer. By having thoroughly conducted a personal SWOT, you can articulate your strengths with confidence and discuss your weaknesses in a self-aware and constructive manner, perhaps explaining how you are working to overcome them or how they are not relevant to the job. Regularly performing a personal SWOT analysis helps you stay self-aware, strategically navigate your career, and make informed decisions about your personal and professional growth. The 18th strategic principle is environmental control. Eliminate internal and external enemies. This lesson simply states that an army may march great distances without distress if it marches through a country where the enemy is not. On the surface, this sounds straightforward. If there is no enemy, the path is easy. But let us apply this profound idea to our daily lives. How many times have you tried to study or get some serious work done while your phone was right next to you, buzzing with notifications, tempting you to check social media every 5 minutes? That phone, in that context, is your enemy, and you have deliberately placed it on the very road you are trying to march on. How many times have you committed to a diet, but then proceeded to buy cookies, chocolates, and other tempting snacks, stocking them in your fridge and pantry? You are consciously putting enemies in your immediate environment, enemies that are looking for a weak moment to attack your willpower and resolve. For me, this lesson means creating a system where you proactively eliminate or minimize the presence of enemies in your environment, both physical and digital, so that you can march towards your goals without unnecessary danger or distraction. If your goal is to read more, then the streaming service that endlessly suggests new shows is your enemy. If you are trying to improve your grades, then friends who prioritize partying over studying might be your enemies in that specific context. This principle is deeply connected to the power of systems and environment design. Rather than relying solely on willpower, which is a finite resource, you design your surroundings to make desired behaviors easier and undesired behaviors harder. For example, if you want to eat healthier, you would not just rely on willpower to resist unhealthy snacks. Instead, you would remove all junk food from your home and fill your fridge with healthy options. You make the healthy choice the easy choice. If you want to be more productive at work, you might turn off notifications on your phone and computer, use website blockers, and create a dedicated, distraction-free workspace. You eliminate the enemies that steal your focus. This approach recognizes that our environment profoundly influences our behavior. By consciously curating your surroundings, whether that is your physical workspace, your digital landscape, or even your social circle, you can significantly reduce friction on your path to success. It is about building a system that supports your goals, making it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing, so you can march forward efficiently and without constant internal conflict. The 19th strategic principle is energy management. Attack when your spirit is keenest. This ancient wisdom notes that a soldier's spirit is keenest in the morning. By noon, it has begun to flag, and in the evening, his mind is bent only on returning to camp. A clever general, therefore, avoids attacking an army when its spirit is keen, but strikes when it is sluggish. This principle translates directly to personal productivity and the effective use of your mental and physical energy. Simply put, if you are going to do something important or mentally demanding, it is almost always better to do it in the morning, because as the day progresses, your energy and willpower reserves will naturally diminish. Your willpower is like a muscle. Just as your physical muscles get tired after every push-up or heavy lift, your willpower also gets depleted with every decision you make and every temptation you resist throughout the day. In the morning, after a good night's rest, your willpower battery is full. It is at its peak. But as the day advances, every single activity you do, from deciding what to wear, to resisting the urge to check social media, to solving problems at work, depletes that battery. Here's the most important thing about willpower that many people are unaware of. You only have one source of willpower that you use for everything. It is not like you have a separate willpower reserve for exercise, another for shopping, and yet another for work. Everything draws from the same single source. People who do not realize this often make common mistakes. They wake up, and the first thing they do is check their phone, engaging in immediate low-value tasks that drain their mental energy. Then, they stand in front of the fridge, analyzing for 10 minutes whether they should eat an omelet for breakfast or some cereal, making an unnecessary decision. Then, they start responding to some minor emails or begin cleaning their room, or engage in other low-value tasks. Finally, after every meaningless job is done and their willpower battery is significantly depleted, they sit down in the evening to do something truly meaningful or important, like working on a critical project or studying. But by then, it is often too late. Their spirit is sluggish, their energy is low, and their focus is compromised because they did not attack the most important tasks when their spirit was high and their willpower was abundant. The strategic approach is to identify your most important task for the day, the one that will have the biggest impact, and tackle it first thing in the morning when you are fresh, focused, and have the most mental energy to dedicate to it. This ensures that your most critical work gets done effectively before the distractions and demands of the day deplete your reserves. The 20th strategic principle is balanced leadership, humanity, and iron discipline. This ancient text advises that if soldiers are punished before they have grown attached to you, they will not be submissive and will be practically useless. Conversely, if soldiers have become attached to you but punishments are not enforced, they will still be useless. Therefore, soldiers must first be treated with humanity, but then kept under control by means of iron discipline. This is presented as a certain road to victory. In modern leadership, whether you are a manager, a CEO, a team leader, or even a parent, there are two commonly used methods for motivating people, either through rewards or through punishments. Many leaders today instinctively use the punishment method first, perhaps by setting strict rules or immediately imposing consequences to get employees to do something. However, even the army general who lived 2,500 years ago understood that this is often ineffective. Few people are submissive by nature, and while some might follow orders out of fear, starting with a hard, punitive approach risks creating resentment and grudges against you. This can lead to low morale, lack of initiative, and ultimately poor performance. Instead, the wise approach is to first earn their respect and attachment through humanity and care. This means showing genuine concern for their well-being, understanding their challenges, providing support, and investing in their growth. When people feel valued, respected, and cared for, they develop a sense of loyalty and commitment. They become attached to you and the team. Once this foundation of trust and respect is established, then and only then can you effectively implement and enforce discipline. When soldiers or employees are attached to you and believe you have their best interests at heart, they will accept your punishments or disciplinary actions more readily and understand them as necessary for the collective good rather than as arbitrary acts of power. If leaders are too indulgent, showing only kindness but unable to make their authority felt or enforce commands, their teams become like spoiled children. They may be well-liked, but they will be ineffective for any practical purpose, lacking accountability and direction. Conversely, if leaders are all about being tough and giving orders without any humanity, they might achieve short-term compliance but will foster resentment and high turnover. The key is to find the right balance between love, care, and firm discipline. This means setting clear expectations, providing constructive feedback, holding people accountable for their performance, and enforcing consequences fairly and consistently. A leader who can master this delicate balance, being both genuinely supportive and uncompromising on standards, will cultivate a highly motivated, effective, and loyal team that is ready to achieve victory in any endeavor. This balanced approach is crucial for sustainable leadership and team success. The 21st strategic principle is team dynamics, the strength of the collective. This lesson states that when the common soldiers are too strong and their officers too weak, the result is insubordination. But when the officers are too strong and the common soldiers too weak, the result is collapse. This highlights the crucial interplay between leadership and the capabilities of the team members. A general or officer can be incredibly brilliant, strategically astute, and a powerful leader. But if their soldiers are weak, unskilled, or unmotivated, there is simply no way they are going to win the battle. The same fundamental truth applies directly to business and any organized endeavor. At the end of the day, it is the team that gets the job done, not just the manager or the CEO. A leader, no matter how visionary, cannot execute alone. They depend entirely on the competence and commitment of their team members. That is why it is of paramount importance to hire the right people. Hiring individuals with the wrong mindset, insufficient skills, or a lack of motivation will inevitably undermine the business and lead to collapse. A company is only as strong as its weakest link in the chain of command and execution. This principle emphasizes that effective leadership involves not only leading well, but also building a strong, capable team around you. It goes beyond just hiring. It also involves, first, hiring for both culture fit and skill. It is not enough for someone to have the technical abilities. They must also align with your team's values, work ethic, and communication style. A brilliant but disruptive team member can do more harm than good. Second, fostering empowerment and development. A strong leader does not just give orders, they empower their team members, providing them with the necessary training, resources, and autonomy to do their best work. They see their role as enabling others to succeed, and they invest in the growth of their people. This includes delegation, which is a powerful tool for developing skills and fostering ownership. Third, cultivating a continuous learning environment. The world changes rapidly, and teams must constantly adapt. Encourage your team members to learn new skills, stay updated on industry trends, and embrace new technologies. Fourth, implementing effective feedback loops. Regular, constructive feedback helps individuals improve and ensures that performance gaps are addressed quickly and effectively. Fifth, practicing succession planning. For critical roles within your organization, always have a plan for who could step in if a key team member leaves. This ensures continuity and resilience. A leader's true strength is reflected in the strength and capabilities of their team. Investing in your people and building a cohesive, skilled unit is essential for sustained success. The 22nd strategic principle is information security, quiet, and secrecy. This lesson emphasizes that it is the business of a general to be quiet and ensure secrecy. In both war and business, information is a critical asset. A secret shared is often no longer a secret, even if it is just one person who knows. This is because even the most trusted person can be compromised. They might be captured and tortured for their knowledge, blackmailed, bribed, or simply accidentally let slip crucial information. The more critical the knowledge, the fewer people should know it. Hence, it is often better to keep major plans to oneself. In the competitive modern business landscape, protecting your proprietary information, strategic plans, and intellectual property is paramount. This goes beyond just legal agreements. It involves creating a culture of discretion and implementing practical measures to safeguard sensitive data. First, adopt a need-to-know basis for sharing information. This means that sensitive details should only be shared with individuals who absolutely require that information to perform their specific tasks. Avoid broad communications of strategic plans or competitive insights. Second, implement robust cybersecurity measures. In today's digital age, secrets are often stolen through hacking, phishing, or other cyber attacks. Invest in strong firewalls, encryption, secure networks, and regular employee training on data security best practices. Third, protect your intellectual property through legal means, such as patents, copyrights, and trademarks. While legal protection is crucial, it is a reactive measure. Proactive secrecy is a preventative one. Fourth, consider the risks of strategic disclosure. While the general rule is secrecy, there are rare occasions when a calculated, partial disclosure can be a strategic move to mislead competitors, influence market perception, or generate interest. However, such moves must be executed with extreme caution and precision, understanding the potential ramifications. Fifth, practice strategic silence. Not every company move needs to be announced or explained to the public, or even to all employees. Sometimes, quiet execution of a new strategy is the most powerful form of competitive advantage, allowing you to build momentum and establish a lead before competitors even realize what is happening. Finally, cultivate a culture of confidentiality within your organization. Educate employees about the value of sensitive information and the importance of not discussing confidential matters outside of work, even with family or friends. A general who masters the art of quiet planning and discreet execution maintains a powerful advantage, ensuring that their intentions remain hidden until the decisive moment of action. The 23rd strategic principle is authentic leadership, love, and authority. This lesson advises to regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look upon them as your beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death. However, it provides a crucial caveat. If you are indulgent but unable to make your authority felt, kind-hearted but unable to enforce your commands, then your soldiers will be like spoiled children, useless for any practical purpose. This highlights the delicate and essential balance between showing care and maintaining firm authority. The best way to lead a team, parent children, or even manage a large organization is to combine genuine affection and care with the ability to ensure that your authority is felt and your orders are obeyed. Maintaining this balance is perhaps one of the hardest things for any leader to do. Some leaders tend to lean too heavily on showing love and taking care of their team members, which is admirable, but they struggle to get difficult things done, set clear boundaries, or hold people accountable. While their team might like them, productivity and efficiency can suffer if tasks are not completed or standards are not met. On the other hand, some leaders are all about being tough, giving orders, and enforcing strict rules without much empathy or personal connection. This approach, while sometimes achieving short-term compliance, often leads to resentment, high turnover, and a lack of loyalty from the team. It is not effective for long-term success. The key to authentic leadership lies in finding and maintaining this powerful balance. First, practice empathy and genuine care. Show that you truly value your team members as individuals, understanding their concerns, listening to their ideas, and supporting their professional and personal growth. This builds trust and loyalty. Second, establish clear expectations and boundaries. People need to know what is expected of them and what the consequences are for not meeting those expectations. Your kindness should not be mistaken for weakness, and your authority should be clear without being overbearing. Third, lead by example. Demonstrate the commitment, work ethic, and integrity that you expect from your team. Fourth, provide constructive feedback. Deliver feedback from a place of support and development, focusing on behavior rather than personal attacks, and always with the goal of helping them improve. Fifth, be decisive when necessary. There will be times when tough decisions need to be made or difficult conversations need to happen. A good leader does not shy away from these responsibilities. When your team knows you care deeply about them, they are more likely to accept tough decisions or disciplinary actions as necessary for the greater good. This balanced approach fosters a loyal, resilient, and highly effective team that is willing to go the extra mile, even in challenging times. The 24th and final strategic principle is adaptive deception, the art of strategic misdirection. This fundamental tenet of warfare states that all warfare is based on deception. When able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. If the enemy is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is in superior strength, evade him. If he is taking his ease, give him no rest. If his forces are united, separate them. Attack him where he is unprepared, and appear where you are not expected. This principle, while seemingly Machiavellian, offers profound insights into competitive strategy in the modern world. In business, this is not about being dishonest in an unethical way, but about strategic misdirection and creating competitive advantage. First, consider competitive bluffing. Sometimes the mere perception of your strength or a hint of an upcoming strategic move can deter competitors even if your plans are not fully developed. This can buy you time or prevent them from launching their own offensive. Second, master market positioning. Craft your brand as narrative in a way that highlights your specific strengths and perhaps subtly downplays any weaknesses, creating a desired perception in the market. This involves strategic messaging that shapes how customers and competitors view your company. Third, leverage strategic silence. Not every business move needs to be announced or extensively publicized. Sometimes, quiet, stealthy execution of a new product launch, a new market entry, or a key acquisition allows you to build momentum and establish a strong foothold before competitors even realize what is happening. This is about being inactive when you are actually quite busy. Fourth, embrace unconventional tactics. Do not always follow predictable paths that competitors expect. Surprise them by using methods they would not anticipate. This could involve an innovative marketing campaign, a disruptive business model, or an unexpected partnership. For example, if your competitor is strong in direct sales, you might focus on building a powerful online community to generate leads, attacking them where they are unprepared. Fifth, learn to exploit an opponent's complacency. If your competitor is resting on their laurels, taking it easy, or focused on internal issues, that is your moment to give them no rest by innovating rapidly, expanding your market share, or launching aggressive campaigns. Sixth, divide and conquer. If a competitor has a strong, unified presence, look for ways to subtly separate their forces. This could mean targeting a specific customer segment they neglect, or creating a product that appeals to a niche that their broad offering misses, effectively creating divisions in their market or customer base. Finally, always be prepared. If a competitor seems secure at all points, it means you need to be extremely vigilant, studying their every move and preparing for their next potential step. Adaptive deception is about understanding the psychological game of competition, using intelligence and strategic communication to shape perceptions, exploit weaknesses, and achieve objectives without direct, costly confrontation. It is about outthinking your rivals, not just outspending them. It is a subtle art that, when mastered, can provide a decisive edge in any competitive landscape. In conclusion, Sun Tzu's ancient wisdom, distilled from the art of war, offers far more than military tactics. It provides a timeless blueprint for navigating complex challenges in modern life, business, and personal growth. By understanding ourselves and our environment, by managing our resources wisely, and by leading with both empathy and discipline, we can transform potential obstacles into opportunities. These principles are not merely theories, they are practical tools for achieving personal mastery and strategic success in every endeavor. Begin applying these profound lessons today and fundamentally change the way you approach your goals and the world around you.